What's up, you guys? This is Jesse's Paint Jobs, and today we're going to be painting a Norco Optic mountain bike frame. This paint job is one that really means a lot to me. Not only is it the most exotic paint job that I've done to date, but it's also being raffled off to help fund bikes for kids that can't really afford them. I can't thank Crank Brothers and the NICA program enough for letting me and Element 6 be a part of such an awesome project. If you would like to donate and have a chance at winning this bike, you can find the link in the description below. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. Now that the bike is all wiped down and clean, I'm going to hit this bike with a tack rag real quick just to make sure I get the rest of all the little contaminants and dust bunnies off of the frame before spraying the sealer. The theme for this bike is going to be Saved by the Bell, kind of like a 90's theme, but instead of Saved by the Bell, it's actually going to be Saved by the Trail, which I thought was pretty cool. This bike is actually going to be about 7 different colors and a lot of stencils, like probably close to 100 if not more. So overall it's probably going to be one of my longer videos just because there's so much I need to cover, but hang in there, I promise you the finished product is definitely worth it. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of me spraying all the small parts. But now that the sealer is done, it's time to move on to spraying white base. Now that we laid down our white base, it's time to start applying the logos. I always wait about 15 to 30 minutes before applying my logos onto the base. It's always good to let it dry for as long as you can. That way you don't have any complications while applying them. There have been some cases where I've applied the logos too soon and it just wrinkled up the paint and just caused a big mess, and I had to wait for the bike to dry almost all day before I was able to sand it. And it was a cold day and the paint was just taking a really long time to dry. It probably wasn't even a good idea to be spraying paint in those conditions, but it is what it is and you learn from it. And now we got most of the logos already put onto the frame. We just have this one last one. It's the Crank Brothers logo. They're the ones that are sponsoring this whole bike and making this whole thing happen. So our first stencil color of the day is going to be a tealish blue color. So we're going to go ahead and start spraying in the whole frame. Spraying these rear pieces could be such a pain. The easiest way to do it is just have a wire on both sides. That way you could pull it tight and it's not just swinging around like crazy on you. And now that we have teal sprayed on the whole frame, it's time to start adding on all of our stencils. For these stencils, location-wise, I didn't really have a designated area for any of them. I just kind of tried to randomize it and put them wherever I felt they fit the best. And now that I'm all done putting the stencils on where I'd like them, it's time to move on to our next color. It probably wasn't the best idea to be spraying yellow paint on top of a teal color, mainly because it kind of turned the yellow into like somewhat of a neon. But the more coats that I added to the yellow, the more the actual color started to show. So I definitely don't recommend spraying yellow on top of blue, but this bike is already gonna have so many different layers of paint that I didn't feel like changing up the base just to accommodate for the yellow. And this color did end up turning out great, so I can't complain too much. Right here, we're just repeating the process of applying all of these little stencils all over the frame, just randomizing it and going crazy. Periodically, I would run out of stencils, so it was a lot of running back to the cutter machine, cutting more stencils out, adding the transfer paper to it. It was just a really long process, as you guys could tell. And now that we got our stencils on for the yellow, it's time to move on to our next color, which is going to be kind of like a hot pink. And now that we're all done spraying our pink base, it's time to throw this paint to the side and get back to work on our stencils. Our next color is going to be creamy orange. A lot of this paint job consisted of doing the same steps over and over, just with different colors. So I wouldn't say this paint job was difficult, it was just very, very time consuming. Orange is our second to last stencil color, so let's go ahead and power through these last two so we could get to our final stage of paint. We finally made it to our last stencil color, and this is going to be a nice lavender purple. This stencil color was the perfect one to end on, mainly because it turned out to be the perfect base for our final color. At this point, I was definitely relieved that I was on to my last layer of paint, because I was 10 hours into painting this frame, and to be honest with you, I was beat. So for our final color, it is a metallic purple, and this color was awesome, especially when you see it in the sunlight. And now, after all that painting and stencil work, it's time to remove all the stencils. And here it is, the bike is finally all cleared in. Unfortunately, I was running out of time and I wasn't able to videotape myself clear coating the bike in, but damn, this bike turned out great. And right here, I still wasn't 100% done with the bike. I still had to wet sand the entire thing, and that way you didn't feel where all the logos were at because of how thick the paint was. And I also had to put a water transfer decal on because I wasn't able to paint it. So I went ahead and I took care of all those things like the wet sanding and putting the water decal on, and this is what the finished product looks like. And Crank Brothers actually had a photo shoot done of this bike, so here's those photos now. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today. This bike turned out great, and like I said before, I'm so happy that I was a part of all this and helping raise money for such an awesome cause. It's just overall, this was very special to me, and even though it did take a lot of hours and a lot of effort to get this paint job done, it definitely was worth it, and it all paid off in the end. So like I said before, I'll be posting the link in my description below. Go and check this thing out. You could be entered in to win it. Definitely, if you have the money for it, go donate. You'll definitely be making some kids' days and getting more kids out there on bikes and involved in the sport, which in my opinion, it's good for all of us. And with all that being said, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. I hope that we could be doing more stuff like this in the future. If you can, like it, leave a comment, give me some feedback. I'm going to be trying to post as much as I can. I'm actually in the process of moving into a new house, so I won't be posting as many videos, but I'll still try to get some shorts out there and maybe a quick little YouTube video if I have time. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.